Hello students, you are welcome in Literature Simply. Simple way to learn literature and language. Friends, as you all requested that make a series on history of English literature, and from this tutorial we are going to make a series on the history of English literature, and this is hash first video on history of English literature. So let me give you an outline of this first lecture or first tutorial on history of English literature. Friends, in the very first we will talk about the periods of English literature which are given in M.H. Abrams' book. Then second we will talk about the background of the Anglo-Saxon period of English literature. This video is particularly on Anglo-Saxon period of English literature or Old English literature. And third we will talk about the significant authors and prose writers in the period, and the third section will be divided into important manuscripts in which the works of these writers are survived and the first literature in the English language. The first we will talk about in A section of the third part poetry of the period, and in the B section we will talk about prose of the period. And at the last or in the fourth part I will give you a bonus chronological table for your reference, which is very useful for the students, and it will help you to know the history of English literature and how these kind of events are happened in the history. So friends, let's start the video. Now first let's understand what are the periods of English literature, because it is very significant to know the periods of English literature, without which we could not go in the history of English literature. Actually, there are many scholars who talk about different periods of English literature, and sometimes we find that there is no agreement among these critics and scholars about a particular period or about a particular date of that period. But here we are going to follow an accepted way or an accepted periods of English literature and practiced by many scholars and the academia which are there in the M.H. Abrams glossary of literary terms. So let's have a look at this period. Friends, the very first period we have Old English or Anglo-Saxon period. The timeline is 450 to 1066. The Middle English period we have 1066 to 1500. Then we have the Renaissance or the early modern period 1500 to 1660, and again it is subdivided into sub periods like Elizabethan age 1558 to 1603. Then we have Jacobean age 1603 to 1625. Then we have Caroline age 1625 to 1649. Commonwealth period, or it is also called as Puritan Interregnum, 1649 to 1660. Then we have Neoclassical period 1660 to 1785, subdivided into the Restoration 1660 to 1700, the Augustan age or the age of Pope 1700 to 1745, the age of sensibility or the age of Johnson 1745 to 1785. Then we have the Romantic period 1785 to 1830. There is another timeline of this period, the Romantic period. Actually it is considered from the publication of lyrical ballads in 1798 to 1832, but here M.H. Abrams states that 1785 to 1830. Then we have the Victorian period 1832 to 1901, again subdivided into the pre-Raphaelites 1848 to 1860, aestheticism and decadence 1880 to 1901. Then we have the Edwardian period 1901 to 1914, the Georgian period 1910 to 1936, the modern period 1940 to 1945 it is considered, and from 1945 onward we have postmodern. And again there are some scholars who consider that the postmodern period ended in 1975, and from there we have ultramodernism or high modernism or the age of technology. So this is the division of the periods of English literature. Now friends, let's discuss about the second part of this tutorial, that is the historical background of Anglo-Saxon period or Old English period. It is considered from 450 to 1066. Now this is a very longer period in the history of English literature, and in this period we find that first English poetry, first English prose has been developed. Now let's know about background of this period or history of this period. First, we find that till 450 there were people living in the England who are called Celtic people. They lived till 450, and around 450 there were three Germanic tribes who invaded these Celtic people. These tribes are called the Angles, the Saxons and Jutes. They invaded these Celtic people and settled there in the England around 450, and from there we find they developed the literary traditions first in the English literature. And when we look at this nomenclature or the very name Anglo-Saxon period, it is nothing but the combination of two names or two nomenclatures or the two tribes among these three, Angles and Saxons. It is the combination of Angles and Saxons, and from there we find Anglo-Saxons, a very simple name. Now friends, we find that from here the development of English literature started around 450. Now this is the historical background of the Anglo-Saxon period or Old English period. Now let's think about the writers of this period, or which is our first poetry, or which is the first English poetry, or which is the first English prose. In the third part we'll talk about manuscripts and the literature. Now there are four manuscripts in which we find this all English literature survived, or it came to us through these four manuscripts, and hence these four manuscripts are very significant in English literature. The very first manuscript we have the Beowulf MS, which is preserved in the Cotton Whitlius A15 in the British Museum. Second, the Junius MS, it is preserved in the Bodleian Library, Oxford. Then we have third manuscript, the Exeter book. It is preserved in the Chapter Library of Exeter at Exeter Cathedral. And the fourth manuscript we have the Vercelli book. It is preserved in the Library of Vercelli near Milan. And in this fourth manuscript we find that some poems of Cynewulf and the contemporaries of Cynewulf, or the poems of the school of Cynewulf. Now friends, let's move to the literature. First, in the A section we will talk about the poetry of the period. Here we have the very first poem, Beowulf. It is an epic poem which composed in more than 3000 lines, and it is considered as the first English epic and also held as the national epic of the England. According to Morley's version, there are 3182 lines in this poem or in this epic, and the story of this epic is very simple. There is the hero called Beowulf, and he fought against a demon or monster called Grendel, and he saves the people there, and he hailed as the hero of that people. So this is the simple storyline of this Beowulf poem. This is first. We have second poem called Widsith. The meaning of Widsith is the far wanderer or far traveler, and this poem is composed in 150 lines, and this is the oldest poem in English literature considered. The Beowulf is the oldest epic, and this is the oldest poem in English literature. This poem Widsith is based on the life of a gleeman who wanders or roams. It is a life of a minstrel, and who roams from one place to another place, and there he amuses people. So this kind of things or stories are there in this second poem, Widsith. The next poem we have Deor Lament, then we have the Seafarer, then we have Walder. The poem is composed in 63 lines, and it is considered the finest narrative in the Old English literature. Then we have the Fight at Finsborough. It is a poem in 48 lines. Then we have the poem called the Battle of Brunanburh. It is based on the famous battle of 937. Then we have a poem in the same line, that is the Battle of Maldon, again based on the famous battle of 993. So friends, these poems are the earlier poems in English literature, and these poems generally are considered as the pagan poems. Now pagan means nothing but the poems or the literature which do not believe in God or Christianity or in any religion. So these are called the pagan poems, and from 7th century we find that there began a new era, the era of Christian writers, the era of Christianity. And there we find different Christian writers wrote in the Old English, and here we have significant three writers. First we have Bede. Actually Bede is not a poet, but he composed the most famous history in English literature, or he is considered as the father of English learning according to William J. Long, because he composed a very fine history called Ecclesiastical History of English People. And from this ecclesiastical history, we received many significant stresses of the old poetry or the earlier poetry in English language. And according to some critics, he composed more than 40 works. But among these 40 works, we have ecclesiastical history very significant. The second author in this period, we have Caedmon, who belonged to the 7th century. Exact dates are not available, but he is generally considered from the 7th century. And he is a significant poet who composed many poems, and there are other poems not composed by Caedmon, and they are attributed to the school of Caedmon. So let's see which poems he composed. There are significant poems. The very first we have the Genesis, then Exodus and Daniel. These three poems are generally considered as the paraphrase. Collectively they are considered as the paraphrase. Then we have Christ and Satan, which contains again three shorter poems. In this series, the third writer we have Cynewulf, who belonged to 8th century. Again, we do not have exact dates of Cynewulf, and he composed some significant poems like the Christ, Juliana, the Fates of the Apostle, Elin, and there are some other poems which are attributed to Cynewulf's school, include Andreas the Phoenix, the Dream of the Rood, the Descent into Hell, Guthlac the Wanderer. Now friends, these all are poems or verse. In the A section we discussed. Now in the B section we will discuss about prose writers. The very first we have Alfred. He is the king of the Wessex county, and he is considered as a very significant author in that particular period, because sometimes he is hailed as the father of English prose. Many scholars, many critics consider him the father of English prose, because he started to write in prose style and not in the verse style. And he is basically a translator, and he translated many significant works. Let's see his translation. The very first translation we have Pastoral Care, which is the work of Pope Gregory. Second, the History of the World. It is written by Orosius. Third, we have Ecclesiastical History of Bede. Then we have Consolation of Philosophy, composed by Boethius. Then we have Soliloquies, composed by Saint Augustine. And there again we have an important entry on the name of King Alfred. That is, he started entries in the Chronicle book, which is started around 860 Anno Domini. And friends, his contribution to this book is very significant. Generally, these are called English or Anglo-Saxon chronicles. And in these chronicles, we have important information about the people, kings and warriors of that particular period. And there are entries of their names, their date of birth, and different kinds of events happened in their life. So, this English or Anglo-Saxon chronicle is significant, and the contribution of King Alfred to this chronicle also is a very significant in English literature. Now friends, this is all about Anglo-Saxon period. Now first we talked about periods of English literature, then we talked about historical background of Anglo-Saxon period or English, Old English period. Then we talked about the manuscripts and the first literature, first poetry, then prose. And now friends, let's talk about the chronological table. This is a significant chronological table in the history of English literature. And if you look at this table, you will understand how these events had been happened in the history of English people, and there is also a chronology of the literature of that particular period. So let's discuss this chronology. Friends, this chronology is given in the History of W.J. Long. It is very useful. So here we have historical events and the literature. So very first we have 449. So there is question mark. So this is a debatable date which is given here, but around this date 449, it is considered that landing of Hengist and Horsa in Britain. Then we have 477, landing of South Saxons. 547, Angles settle Northumbria. As we have seen different areas or different regions in the map of this old England. So there is a region called Northumbria, and in Northumbria we have Angles settled in 547. Then we have landing of Augustine and his monks. Conversion of Kent happened in 597. Next event we have Edwin, king of Northumbria, happened 617. Then we have coming of Saint Aidan, conversion of Northumbria in Christianity, that is from 635 to 665. Next we have Danes conquer Northumbria 867. Alfred, king of Wessex, he became king of Wessex in 871. Defeat of Danes, peace of Wedmore. King Alfred fought against the Danes and they defeated Danes in 878. Then we have death of Alfred in 901. Then we have Danish period 1013 to 1042. Nut king 1016. Edward the Confessor, Saxon period restored 1042. Then we have Westminster Abbey begun 1049. Occurrences of Westminster Abbey are very significant in English literature, which we are going to discuss in the later tutorial. So this started from 1049. Then we have Harold, last of Saxon kings, and Norman conquest in 1066. And in literature we have Gilda's History 547, Cadmon at Whitby 664, Bede 673 to 735. Then we have Cynewulf poems. It is composed around 750. Then we have Anglo-Saxon Chronicle, which is began around 860. And last known poem of the Anglo-Saxon period, the Battle of Maldon, otherwise called Bradnoch Death 991. So this is the literary chronology of the works in English literature. So friends, this is all about Anglo-Saxon period. If you have any difficulty, if you have any problem, please comment below. I will answer to your comments. So like this video, share this video among your friends and subscribe to Literature Simply, and don't forget to press the all bell notification icon for updates.